Oh, guys, good morning. Happy coffee talk. Today's coffee is in this awesome mug. This is my raccoon mug. I'm drinking Black Rifle coffee. And I'm on my second cup already. I've actually been a slow start today. I got up early, but it's taken me a little bit to push record on Coffee Talk. I was going to share this on my Instagram story, and I thought you might be interested on how I do this, because maybe it's just interesting if you don't have a podcast or you wonder like what my life is like. I wake up in the morning and I usually do some work of some kind. Like I write, or sometimes I roll straight into Coffee Talk depending on the day. And then I usually take a break and hang out with the kids. My boys get on the bus pretty early for school. But how I release Coffee Talk is kind of a funny little process. So I actually record this with a video and my microphone. So it's nothing fancy. It's like this Shure microphone. I record, and it's plugged into my computer. And so I record this on QuickTime, like the least fancy video app ever that like automatically came with my computer. So I record it that way. And then after it's done, so Coffee Talk, like 15 minutes usually? I take the episode and I export it to an audio file. So then I have the video and the audio, and then I take the audio file and I upload it to this app called Libsyn. That's where I release my podcast. And it takes me about 5 minutes. I upload it, I write some show notes, and I hit publish, and then boom, then it's released as a podcast. It's like really, truly that fast. Then I take the video and I upload it to a streaming platform that streams it into my Facebook groups. And so I have Fitme Community Facebook group, and I have a Coaches Building Community Facebook group, and I stream it into both of those. Then I take the video and I upload it to YouTube. And while it's uploading, I make a thumbnail and then I publish it there. And so that whole process maybe takes 30 to 45 minutes. But I do it really consistently, and that's why you are listening to this right now, because even when I have a slow start, I tend to do it. And you know what the origin of this was? The origin of Coffee Talk. So, it was probably 2 years ago. I wanted, and this all has a point for you, by the way. About 2 years ago, I wanted to find a way to show up consistently in my Facebook group. So we had all these amazing people in the Fit Me Community Facebook group, but I found that I wasn't very consistent about showing up. And at the same time, I had been writing a lot. I was writing a daily email blog. And so I had been publishing that regularly, but I was not really doing much on video. And so I made this decision that I was going to do a live video into the Facebook group every single day while I was drinking a cup of coffee, because I was already drinking a cup of coffee. It was already a habit in my day. And so I decided to use that strategy called habit stacking, where you basically take a habit you're already doing and you stack another one on top of it, which makes the second one easier. And so I started releasing videos into the Facebook group, and I had made the commitment to myself that I would do them every day. And if not every day, then I would get right back to it. So it was an everyday commitment, knowing that it wouldn't be perfect. And that sometimes it might not happen, but that I'm not doing it like Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm doing this every day. If I miss a day, I just get back the next day. And I started doing it for about maybe 2 to 3 weeks. I was really enjoying doing these videos. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, I should just release these on a podcast, because it wouldn't be very hard to turn these into a podcast. And if anybody listens, great. If nobody listens, whatever. And so that's how it started. It was that simple. I didn't have a microphone, and I didn't have a decent camera, nothing. I just started and made the commitment to be consistent, even if consistent wasn't perfect. And so that's what I did. And that's going on. I think we're on episode 570 now. And so 570 times I've woken up and said, I'm going to drink a cup of coffee and share some thoughts and insights with you. And hopefully they're helpful. And that little, whatever we call it, content flow, essentially, of the recording plus the releasing of all of it, really isn't that difficult. It's more about just getting in the groove and doing it. It would be much more difficult, by the way, if I was planning out every detail of every episode. I was editing everything perfectly so that you never heard my crazy dogs in the background, or saw my kids, or heard me say or clear my throat. Editing all that to make the episode perfect would slow me down. Also, sometimes I don't look very put together on these episodes. So sometimes I wake up and I brush my hair and I put on like a tiny bit of makeup, and other days I just record. But if I always had to be put together, I probably wouldn't do them. And then the other thing is that I know that some episodes are really helpful. And then some episodes are pretty helpful, not like amazing, right? They can't all be amazing. When you do 570 episodes, they're not all going to be amazing. But what has happened over the last 2 years is that more and more of you have decided to listen. And we've been able to connect through these podcast episodes, and it's been such a blessing in my life. And so thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing 10 to 15 minutes of your morning or your day with me. And through that consistency, through the 570 episodes, I feel like I have developed a skill set for short form talking. So 10 to 15 minutes of talking, I can do it in my sleep. Because I've done it consistently. And over time, I've gotten some better things. I got a mic. I got a little better camera. I started putting things on YouTube. I wasn't doing that. I mean, I wasn't even distributing it on a podcast originally, remember? It was just a video. So over time, I have elevated the podcast a little bit, but not a lot. Just enough to make it a little bit better, a little bit easier to watch, a little bit easier to listen to. Nothing crazy. But the point of all this is that creating anything for yourself or for others requires consistency and a willingness to accept the not perfect. And so I promise you that if you go back and listen to episode 7 or 10, you're probably going to be like, what in the heck? I bet I was fumbly. I bet my words weren't very, coherent. I have a feeling I say like even more than I do now. The audio was probably garbage. So if you go back and listen, guaranteed, it's not that great. And the video quality was probably terrible. All of that was a part of getting started. Not being very good at it was a part of getting started. And if that had stopped me, if the belief that I had to be really good or even okay to get started, that would have meant that I would have never started, because the path to getting better at doing this podcast was to do the podcast. And you may be feeling like you need to get in shape before you join the gym, but that's backwards. You're not going to feel very great when you start, to be honest. Anybody who tells you otherwise is lying to you, but your muscles aren't going to feel good. Your energy is not going to be awesome at first. But the way to get in shape is to go to the gym, not to get in shape first and then go to the gym. The way to start improving your nutrition is to start improving your nutrition, not to learn more about it. It's to either hire a coach or get some support from somebody who can give you at least 2 steps in the right direction. You don't need 25 steps in the right direction. You need maybe 2, because those 2 are the first ones that you have to take, right? That sounds so silly and dumb, but those first 2 steps are the ones you have to take. The first 2 steps for me in recording the podcast was to just record it live into the Facebook group. That was all I had to do. I didn't have to get a mic. I didn't have to do all the things. All I had to do was push record and open my mouth and talk. And so I didn't need 75 steps in the future. In fact, 75 steps in the future would have been hard. I could have also spent a year or 2 years researching podcasts. I've actually had conversations with coaches who say that, I've been spending the last year, trying to figure out my podcast. And I'm like, well, you're doing it wrong, dude. It's time to just do it. There's no research. You just have to do it. And so if you're thinking about joining the gym and waiting until you need to get in shape before you join the gym, you're not doing it. You're doing it backwards. If you're thinking about changing your nutrition, but you need to get more information, you need to have the right time, you need to figure it all out, blah, 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 you're doing it wrong. You actually just have to start doing it, because when you fast forward a year or 2 years from now, you're going to remember that first time that you cooked asparagus and it was trash. And then you'll remember, okay, it's actually gotten so much better. My whole family eats vegetables now, but that might be a year from now. Or I used to have no idea how to cook protein. I didn't even know I needed to eat protein. And now all of a sudden I can eat protein at every meal and it's really doable. It doesn't even take me very long. It's almost automatic. How do you get there? You start doing it. And you give yourself some grace. Had I been really hard on myself in the beginning, I probably would have also stopped. I didn't listen back to those episodes. I've never listened to them because it probably would have been pretty hard on myself and I wouldn't have liked it and then I would have stopped. And so I did not critique myself harshly. I simply just kept going. And again, over time, I did slowly make improvements that helped, but that was not essential to getting started. And so the consistency, the commitment of I'm going to do this, I'm going to show up no matter what, that commitment was more powerful for me than saying I might do this on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because that Tuesdays and Thursday commitment's not a real commitment to me. Now, once I've done a bazillion episodes, could I, switch to Tuesdays and Thursdays? Maybe, but not if it's still important. I feel like for me, the most important things I need to make a real everyday commitment to. So, here's an example. You could commit to eating healthy Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's not a thing, right? If you want to actually change your life and change your body, you're going to have to commit to eating healthy every day. Now, is it going to look perfect? No, but it's a shift. It's I'm committed to doing this every day for myself. Oh, wait, Saturday was rough. My commitment's not over. I'm just back on Sunday. It might be for me, I missed 2 days of recording my podcast because X, Y, and Z. The commitment's not over. I just get right back to it. And I've actually done episodes on that where it's the day back after a couple of days off and it feels wobbly. It doesn't feel as succinct. It doesn't feel as in the groove. But I tell you on the podcast that I'm just doing this. I don't even know why I'm doing it that day, just to get back on the train. And so when you make this commitment for yourself and you make a shift of saying, I want to do this for myself, I'm committed, committing to it on a sort of daily basis is really the best possible way, giving yourself grace for sometimes days that fall off, but you're going to get right back to it the next day. And the same thing with exercise. Yeah, you may not do a hard exercise every single day, but you should be committed to moving your body every single day. And so maybe you go to the gym and do a boot camp class on Tuesday, but Wednesday's not a do nothing day. Wednesday might be a go for a walk day or do a YouTube yoga class day. It's not a day that commitment ends. You move your body every day because that's how you take care of yourself. And so I just thought it would be helpful to hear this reflection on the podcast, because this in and of itself can represent you and what you want to achieve and the commitment it takes to get there. I think, what is this? This is December 2022. I can imagine that in December 2024, 2 years from now, this podcast won't have a couple of hundred daily listeners because there's about a couple hundred of you who listen every day. And again, it means a ton to me. A couple hundred is a lot, but let's fast forward 2 years. It's 2024 and maybe I'm on episode 1022 and every day there's a couple thousand people that listen. It will look as though that has always been the case. It will look as though Christy has always had a podcast where thousands of people listen. It will look as though it has always been well put together, that the sound is good, that the episodes are clear and easy to understand, that there's excellent show notes, that the titles of the episodes make sense. It'll look as though it had always been that way. But you'll know the truth because you've been here. You've been here with me since the beginning. It's not always been that way. In fact, it started much, much different than that. And that often happens with bodies too, and with healthy lifestyles. It looks as though someone has always been that way, that they were just gifted it or lucky, or that they just came out of the box. And that does happen sometimes, but for the most part, there was a process to get there. There was a process to build those muscles. There was both muscles on your physical body and the healthy eating muscles. There was a process to get there, and the beginning of that process probably didn't look very awesome. And the body might have looked different then. The mindset might have felt different then. All of those things might have been different. And so just remember that when you see people on Instagram or you see your person that's like, man, they've always been that way. Maybe not. And remember, it actually doesn't matter one hill of beans what they did. I'm telling you the path for you. And if we fast forward 2 years and it's just us still, just a couple hundred listeners, I'm cool with that because I didn't start this podcast to have thousands of listeners. I started this podcast so that I could communicate with you and that we could talk daily and that I could develop the skill set around teaching and communicating in short form bites and on video. And so it's been twofold. It's been able to connect with you and hopefully give you usable things that you can employ in your daily life. And for me, 1, to get things out of my head, and 2, to strengthen my skill set around teaching and talking and coaching. And so that has nothing to do with the number of listeners or the praise or labels that would come from quote success, because it's success now, because I've been doing it for 570 episodes. And so when you've walked 570 days, and some days those walks are in the rain, and some days those walks are in the sunshine, and some days they're in the snow, and some days they're 45 minutes, and some days they're 10 minutes. When you're 570 walks in, you are successful. You did it. You created the consistency. All of that work and process mattered. It doesn't matter what anyone says or sees. So that's my coffee talk episode for today. I hope it was helpful. If you liked this episode, do me a huge favor and screen capture it and share it and tag me. Coffee Talk doesn't have any sponsors. And so the only way that people find out about it is if you share it either in your Instagram or with them directly and say, hey, you should listen to this podcast, check it out. And so that means a ton to me. If you have the chance, if you can, screen capture this, share it, and tag me. And if you are not a part of our Facebook group yet, then come on over to Facebook and search Fitme Community, request to join the group, and I will add you. We are going to have a really fun game in January. We're going to do a reset, and it's going to be completely free, but I bet it's going to be exactly what you need following the holiday season. And so just a quick preview that it's coming. So I want you to be a part of it. I want you to be a part of our Fit Me Reset. Again, completely for free, totally fun, doable, but effective. And so that was going to happen in the Facebook group. So make sure you join the group so you can get all of that information. So thanks as always for plugging into Coffee Talk. I will talk to you later. Take care. Bye.